Resistance Radio Music. Welcome back, viewers. This is Resistance Radio Music video series. As always, I'm your host, Brother Theron. This is the day that the Lord has made. I shall rejoice and be glad in it. Thank you all for coming back to tune in once again. As always, the first thing I want to do is give worship and honor to the Most High Yahweh, who is my God, and praise and respect and reverence to Yahweh Shai, who is my Savior. Some of you all call him Jesus Christ. Today's title is For the Men, Navigating Through Conflict with Women. For the Men, Navigating Through Conflict with Women. The reason why I'm doing this video is because I've had recent discussions with several younger men that are younger than I am, and a lot of times the topic is conflict resolution and conflict and arguments in general. I have love and passion and concern for the men in my community as far as what they're supposed to be, who they're supposed to be, and what their role is if they're in a husband-wife situation or just in a relationship situation or in a co-parenting situation. So when I say in the title, Navigating Through Conflict with Women, let's keep in the context of what it is. When I say women, I'm talking about whether this man is dealing with his mother, whether this man is dealing with his sisters or sisters-in-law, whether he's dealing with one wife or more than one wife, whether he's dealing with the mother of one set of children or the mothers of several sets of children, or in a situation where they're just getting to know each other. Navigating through conflict with women. Today I'm not going to be going into the scriptures so much because, well, actually I'm not going to be going into the scriptures at all on this video. The reason why is because I understand in my class that I'm trying to teach, we have some people in my class that are believers. We have some people in my class who are not believers. This particular video is going to be great tips and great advice for both believers and non-believers alike. So that being the case, we're not going to go to scriptures this time. I'm going to talk mostly through experience and talk mostly through what I understand about history and what I understand about culture and what I understand about heritage. For the men, navigating through conflict with women. The first piece of advice I would give you men, regardless of what your relationship status is with that woman, examine yourself first. Take a long look in that mirror that you're supposed to look in every day and examine yourself first. Then examine her in that order. So regardless of what the conflict is, the disagreement is, the argument is, men, examine yourself first and then examine the woman that you're dealing with in that argument or conflict in that order. Consider the possibility, man, this question. Could you be wrong about things? Could you be wrong about what you're thinking? Could you be wrong about what you believe? Could you be wrong about what you're actually experiencing right at this moment with this woman? You could be right a lot of the times. You could be wrong about some things. So that being said, take that into consideration first. Examine yourself first. Real quick, I'm going to talk about this need to be right problem. This is something I've dealt with myself because I'm a man and I've been in and out of numerous relationships, and there is an underlying need for most men to be right about something. It can be a problem because you have to look at this two different ways. Men, you have to look at this need to be right versus the need to be obedient. Everyone submits to someone. Everyone answers to someone. Everyone's under someone's authority, whether you like it or not. So men, when you're having your argument, when you're having your disagreement, when you're having your conflict, explore that need to be right thing that most of you men are dealing with. Some of you men aren't dealing with the need to be right problem, but some of you are. Weigh it out on a scale, the need to be right versus the necessity of being obedient. If you're wrong about something, you're still supposed to be obedient. If you're right about something, you're still supposed to be obedient. Let's just use your supervisor, for example, men. You're working on a job. Your supervisor tells you to do a specific thing that you don't agree with. Now, in order to keep your job, you're going to most likely going to do it if you want to keep your job. But let's say you have the opportunity to sit down with your supervisor and talk about what actually happened or didn't happen. There's the need to be right versus the necessity to be obedient. Now, if you're being obedient to your supervisor, the one that has authority over you, whoever him or her is, if you're being obedient to them, then the need to be right is not really that important. Even though it's a deep down underlying feeling, it's not really important. Since you're being obedient, the need to be right is not important. So at that point, you're going to do what's best. First of all, you're going to do what your supervisor asks you to do. Secondly, you're going to do what's probably best for the company or the organization or that franchise or whatever you call it. But there's still that underlying need to be right. So the problem is when you get into a relationship, women are looking at it as an equality thing. They're looking at it as they're equal to you and you're equal to them. We're going to talk some more about that in detail later. But since this men have this ego thing, this larger need to be right, that's what can sway the disagreement or the conflict in either a negative way or a positive way. Most likely in a negative way, because men, if you what's the word I'm looking for? If you exude your need to be right too much in a relationship, during a conflict, during an argument, it can shut down communication between you and that woman. If this woman believes or sees that you have this attitude that you need to be right, it's going to be very hard for her to communicate to you in a healthy way. What happens is y'all communicating with each other, but she knows in your mind you have this need to be right, which means in your mind you actually have this need for her to be wrong. Well, that changes the dynamic of the relationship, but not necessarily in a good way. So when y'all having these conflicts, these fights, these arguments, and you have this need to be right instead of needing to be obedient to your authority figure, and she has this need to be right because she wants you to see that you're not right all the time, that sways the direction of the conflict, but again, it's not in a good way. If that need to be right becomes too strong or too overpowering, it's going to shut down the relationship, it's going to shut down the communication, and it's very likely y'all going to break up. So the first piece of advice, getting back, examine yourself first, then her in that order. Whatever the situation is, look at your own attitude, your own beliefs, your own ideas, your own way of thinking, your own point of view, your own opinion first, then do the same with hers. And that can help gauge, okay, well, who's so-called right or wrong in this situation. That can help not only end the argument, but it could possibly save the relationship, whether it's a marriage, baby's mama, baby's daddy situation, whatever you want to call it. So with that being said, the first piece of advice, examine yourself first, then examine her in that order. Could you be wrong about things? Explain the need to be right problem. I already did that. So we talked about the need to be right versus the need to be obedient. It's very important that all of you listening to me be obedient to your authority figures, whoever that authority figure is. I've talked about line of authority in my other videos. Everyone is under someone's authority except the Most High himself. Everyone else is under someone's authority. Everybody needs to fall in line, get in rank and file, follow the authority figure and be obedient, and then this need to be right wouldn't be such a big deal. We're going to move on to the next tips of advice. We talked about the first one. The second one is, this is a tough one, men, calm down. Let me say it again, men, calm down. Ice cold Sprite today. Men, work on this, because really between the man and the woman, men are supposed to be better at what I'm about to say. Put your emotions in check. If you're unable to, get as far away from the conflict as possible. No violence. Let me say that again. Put your emotions in check. If you're unable to put your emotions in check, get as far away from the conflict as possible. No violence. I've said you all in earlier videos. Men, it's okay to be angry. It's okay for your woman to be angry. It's not okay to be violent. It's never okay to be violent. You're going to find yourself in handcuffs and having a case on your record. See, if it's a situation where y'all don't live together, it's simple. Get in your car and leave, guys. Or if it's your place, find a way to get her to get in her car and leave. That's the best way to get away from it if you can't keep your emotions in check. Now, some men like myself have become very good and very strong at keeping our emotions in check. That's one thing I pride myself in being able to do in these last few years, through prayer, through fasting, through readings, through worship, through studying. I'm getting very good at keeping my emotions in check. Doesn't mean I've perfected it, just means I'm good at it. So men, y'all have to get good at it too. Keep your emotions in check. If you're unable to, get as far away from the conflict as possible. No violence. Now, real quick, I'm going to explain redirecting energy. Man, no matter what your emotion is, it's a form of energy. No matter what emotion you're experiencing, whether it's a positive emotion or a negative emotion, it's energy. The energy starts inside of your body. It's supposed to come out of your body in by different methods and in different ways. It's still energy. So the point I'm saying is, when y'all are having these conflicts and those emotions start to build up inside of you, it becomes energy. Men, the best way to do that is redirect that energy, take it and put it somewhere. I would advise some of you men to get some of this. Paper. Get you one of these. Writing utensil. Write down your thoughts, write down your feelings, write down your emotions. Write a song, write a poem. If you're a musician, create some music. If you do beats, do some beats. If you write in a journal, write in your journal. If you sculpt, get out your sculpting materials and sculpt something. If you're an animator, get your color, pens, pencils, markers, what have you, and animate something. If you're a cook, go in the kitchen and fix something delicious. Take that energy and direct it somewhere. Men, this is something you must do. If you're athletic, grab those weights and do some curls, do some of these, do some bench presses, do some walking, do some jogging, do some sit-ups. Take that energy and direct it somewhere. And what happens is your heart rate's going to go down. Your blood pressure's going to go down. Your stress level's going to go down. Your mental acuity will be sharper. You will feel better and you will be better equipped to handle that conflict. Excuse me. So part of 2, I said calm down, put your emotions in check. If unable to, get as far away from the conflict as possible. No violence. Redirect the energy into something positive, something creative. If you need to mow the lawn, go mow the lawn. If you need to go work on a car, go work on a car. If you need to go be around the guys, go be around the guys. But redirect the energy somewhere. Okay, so that was number 2, calming down, putting your emotions in check. Number 3, this is a point I need to bring out. Y'all need to pay close attention. Almost every man I know, this is not all men. Some men aren't this way, but the majority of men are this way. Most men need to get things done and get things done and over with as quickly as possible. This is the nature of men. Women that are out here listening, this is just the man's nature. Men want to get things done. They want to get things done completely. They want to get things over with. They want it done as soon as possible so they can move on to the next thing. This is the nature of men. But it can't always go that way. That's something I had to learn and be patient about in my experience. It can't always go as quickly as I would like to, getting it over with as soon as I would like it to, and it can't always go as smoothly as I would like it to. That's just something I had to learn as a man growing up and growing older. It can't always go that way. When conflict is unavoidable, and I'm only talking about when conflict is unavoidable, concentrate more on getting through the problem instead of getting away from the problem. See, when a problem's coming at you, there's 2 things you can do, fight or flight. Fight means where you confront that conflict head on and you try to get through it in whatever way you need to get through it. Flight is you try to get away from that conflict as soon as possible and as far away from it as possible. I'm not saying either one is right or wrong. Sometimes you have to fight, sometimes you have to have flight. That's something men need to learn, fight or flight. It's a survival tactics. It's a survival tactic, singular. If you can't always go, when conflict is unavoidable, concentrate on getting through the problem instead of getting away from the problem. Patience. Patience. That's something most men need to work on. Patience and self-control. I've talked about it before. Patience and self-control. This was something your parents were supposed to teach you, man. If you were in the military, this was something that your commanding officers were supposed to teach you. If you were in college, this was something your professor, your dean of students was supposed to teach you. If you were on a job and you started working at an early age, this was something your supervisors and your CEOs and your bosses and your managers, etc., were supposed to teach you. Patience and self-control. Apply this to every principle in your life. When I say apply this, I'm talking about when I talked about concentrating on getting through the problem instead of away from the problem, take that principle and apply it to every area in your life. Man, this is just the way life is. You're going to be confronted with things, good and bad, usually more bad than good, but you're going to be confronted with things. Get through the situation instead of always trying to get away from the situation. Sometimes you do have to get away from the situation. Sometimes it's just too much. I've had experience recently where I had to make a major life decision because I was just under too much pressure, and it did change my life. I'm not saying it made my life better, but my life changed because I had to make a decision about a major aspect of my life. Patience and self-control. It's a situation that I tried to get through, but now that it's affecting my health and my well-being, I'm having to get away from it. So sometimes you may have to do both. You may have to try to get through the conflict and then later get away from the conflict, depending on whether it escalates or not. So we talked about the first three things: examining yourself first, then her, in that order. That's number one. Calm down, put your emotions in check. That's number two. Number three, if conflict is unavoidable, concentrate on getting through the problem instead of getting away from it. Use patience and self-control. Apply this principle to everyday life. Now we're going to go on to the next thing. This is an interesting one. We're talking about conflict resolution, arguments, fights. Balance the time spent talking to her and the time spent listening to her. If you and your loved woman, whoever she is, are having a serious discussion, argument, disagreement, whatever you call it, you have to spend some of that time listening to her, guys. You have to listen to it even if you don't like what you're hearing and it doesn't sound good. You're going to have to spend some time listening with her if you care anything about her. You're also going to have to spend some time talking whether she wants to listen or not. You need to get it out. This is just how men are designed, ladies. Men, when they believe something, they need to say it, they're going to say it, whether you're listening or not. So what I'm saying is, men, balance the time. Balance the time spent listening to her, you have 2 ears, and balance the time speaking to her, you have 1 mouth. She needs to hear what you say, but for this thing to work, if y'all trying to work this out, you need to hear what she has to say. Balance it. Balance is tough to achieve. That's true in almost all aspects of life. It's very, very hard to achieve balance. And in 2025, it's getting harder to achieve balance because we live in a society, a world, that's doing everything it can to make things imbalanced. So once you get a full understanding of that you live in a society, in a world, in a universe that wants everything in balance, you have to work even harder to achieve and maintain balance. Here's a warning, guys. You will most likely have to endure her yelling, crying, fits, and her pain to achieve this balance. She's going to be crying, or if she's not crying, she's going to be yelling. If she's not yelling, she's going to be sweating and her face is going to be red. If it's not that, she's going to cover her ears like this, or she's going to be sobbing because she's having some emotional pain or emotional breakdown. You're going to be dealing with all of this when you're trying to resolve the conflict. Remember, guys, you need to know this about women if you don't know it already. Women see you as the bearer and or conduit and or resting place for her pain. Let me say that again. Women see the man in their life as the bearer of her pain and a conduit of her pain and the resting place for her pain. No matter what she may have went through, how she was hurt, beat up, destroyed, humiliated, whatever word you want to use, she's going to take all that pain that she has and it's going to be directed at you. You're going to have to bear it on your shoulders, or you're going to have to be the conduit where you take it in and direct it somewhere, or you're just going to have to be the resting place where she just drops it on you and that's where it is. I'm sorry there was a break in the video. What I was saying is if you're her resting place, she's just going to take all that pain, suffering, frustration, drop it on you, and you're the resting place for that pain. Keep this in mind, guys. Now, let me say this about women who are believers, women that are of the faith. This applies to both Hebrew Israelite women and Christian women. I'm not going to go to scriptures, but I'll make a point. What Hebrew Israelite women and Christian women are supposed to do, they're supposed to see the Messiah as acting in those roles. The one they call Jesus, the Messiah, the one I call Yahushua, he's supposed to be the one that's to be the bearer of their pain and the conduit and the resting place for their pain. Not that man, because he already knows that man is still imperfect. Whereas if the believing woman, the Hebrew Israelite woman, the Christian woman really believes in him the way the scripture says, really believes in him for being who he is, that's where they're supposed to lay their pain and their trouble and their frustrations and their anger and their hostility and their whatever. They're supposed to lay it at his feet and let him heal them. Men, you may not be able to heal your woman. I say may not because you have some relationships that work out well. You have some men and women that are such teammates and are so in sync with each other where she can take that pain and bear it on him, and he can be the bearer. He can be the conduit. He can be the resting place for it, and it works out. I have some people in my family that have been married over 50 years, and it just worked out. Sometimes it works out. I'm sure they had their share of conflict too. And I'm sure that both of them found a way, if they stayed together for 50 something years, they figured out a way to navigate through conflict with women and men. So like I said, the Messiah is supposed to be the bearer of that. He's supposed to be the conduit of that. He's supposed to be the resting place of that. So what I'm telling you women out here is you have to keep that in mind, even when you're angry at your spouse, or you're angry at your loved one, or whatever you want to call him, whatever role he's supposed to have in your life, and whatever you see him as, when y'all are having these conflicts and trying to get through them, you have to understand that's not really his role. Now, he can listen, he can help, but that role really belongs to your Savior if you believe in him. So we talked about those first 4 things. Now we're going to keep moving on. This is number 5. This is tips and advice. Men, listen up. Let me say this carefully. Refrain from caring too much and showing too much emotion towards her, even when you're tempted to. Let me say that again so you get it, guys. Refrain from caring too much and showing too much emotion towards her, even when you're tempted to. There were times where I was having an argument with one of the wives, and in the back of my mind, I'm like, well, God, I still love her, but man, I'm so angry at her right now. So what you have to do, you have to be careful about that where you don't show too much of that. This is the time for her to be uncomfortable. I'm going to spend some time talking about this. Man, when you're having a disagreement and y'all really care about each other and y'all are really trying to make this relationship work, it's actually better if she's uncomfortable and you're comfortable. Why? What I know about women, this is a fact. When a woman feels uncomfortable in a relationship, like she could lose her man and she doesn't want to lose her man, she will work harder to keep that man. That's not to imply that she's not working hard enough. She may be working hard enough, but if you're having a serious conflict, a serious argument, and it could potentially lead to a breakup, divorce, whatever word you want to use, it's really better if she's uncomfortable and she doesn't know what your next move is. She doesn't know what you're really thinking. She doesn't know what you're really feeling. Because here's what will happen. If she's uncomfortable, she's going to work harder on making things work. This is how you want it. Listen, masculine men, I don't care if you're alpha males, delta males, whatever kind of male you want to call it. You want this thing to work, and you want this thing to work in a way where you can be in the role that you're supposed to be in anyway. She needs to be a little uncomfortable. Let me give you an example. Let's say during y'all's dating process, courtship process, there was another woman that was kind of in the picture. Well, if she doesn't know how you feel about that woman or what you think about that woman, she's going to be uncomfortable. Because the thing is, every woman that wants a good man wants that good man to herself. If she feels like she's having to share time, share love, share companionship, share closeness with another woman, she's going to be uncomfortable. If she's going to be uncomfortable, she's going to work harder than if she's comfortable. This is the problem with women that get too comfortable in relationships. So men, you need to understand this and see it for what it is. For the thing to work well and work smoothly, she should probably be uncomfortable and be looking to please the Most High, first of all, if she believes in him. If she doesn't believe in him, she should be trying to please the number one man in her life. If she lives with her father, she should be trying to please her father. If she lives with her husband, she needs to be trying to please her husband. If she's working toward becoming a wife to her husband, she should be a little uncomfortable. This is the time for her to imagine life with you versus life without you. It's sad but true. This is the culture we live in. This is the world we live in. It gets to a point where a woman's looking at you and she has two roads. She has a road where she's with you, ride or die, or she's away from you and she's either ride or die for somebody else or by herself. This is that point where she has to look and weigh that and see, okay, well, which one seems better for me? So the best way to do that is not to show too much emotion or too much concern. Don't overdo it, because if she feels too comfortable, she's going to dominate the relationship. And I do know through history and through scriptures, it never works out well if a woman is dominating the relationship. This is truth. She needs to imagine life with you or life away from you, which may or may not be governed by her anger and hurt. So keep that in mind too. If she's angry, if she's hurting, if she's distressed, if she's upset, that's going to govern her thinking about imagining a life with you versus imagining a life without you. I want to throw this out as a side note. Consider an in-house separation. Here's why I say that. First of all, y'all know Brother Theron hates divorce. I hate it. A divorce is like the last thing you should do when you're having a problem. That needs to be the end all be all when you've tried everything else. So what I suggest you try before you try everything else is consider an in-house separation. I have done this in my previous marriage. It got to a point where this just got me some covers, pillow, and I went and slept on the couch. And I would stay in the living room, and what I would do, I think I told this story. I would intentionally sit in the living room and look out the window. So my wife at the time, we're no longer married on paper, but the point I'm making is at the time, she started worrying about me because she knew that me looking out the window represented me looking at another life without her. Me sleeping on the couch represented me living a sexless life, or a life where there was no intimacy with me and her. So now she has to start turning on her thinking, turn on her wheels and using her thinking cap. Okay, if he's sitting looking out the window, he's probably either not thinking about me at all or thinking about me in a negative way. If he's willingly going to the couch and going to sleep and not asking me for sex, either there's another woman or he's not concerned about me as his main woman. This is how they start to think. Men, again, this is the way you want it to be. So that was tip number 4. Like I said, just to recap tip number 4, refrain from caring too much and showing too much emotion towards her, even when tempted to. Consider an in-house separation. If that means both of y'all sleeping in separate beds, so be it. Do it until y'all both get tired of it. It's better than a divorce. That is way more honorable than a divorce. Oh, and by the way, it's not a sin either. So those of you that are watching that are believers, it's not a sin to do an in-house separation, but the goal is for you all to see what the problem is and work on it together and fix it, get together, stay together, and fight for your marriage. For those of you that aren't married, you have to consider this someone you want to live with for a long period of time, because it's going to be like a marriage. So I would say the same thing to people that aren't married on paper. Consider an in-house separation. Okay, number 5. We only have a few more and then we're going to wrap this up. Here's number 5. Men, you need to remember, some or a lot of this tension is simply hormones. Let's just break it down and make it simple. Some or a lot of the tension is simply hormones. Men, you got to put on your thinking cap and be compassionate and considerate. Men, you need to be more compassionate and considerate in your relationships. Consider her imbalances. Consider the time of the month, possibly. Consider that there's a physical problem that she hasn't told you about. Now, yes, she's supposed to be honest and upfront with you, but there may be something wrong with her physically, and she either doesn't know what it is or hasn't told you. So when you see her and she's angry, she's irritable, she's in pain, there could be something wrong with her body. Ask questions. Is she diabetic? Because low blood sugar, high blood sugar can cause all kinds of problems. I'm a diabetic myself. There's a whole list of problems that can come with high blood sugar and a whole list of problems that can come with low blood sugar, including hallucination. Is her blood pressure correct? Is her pH balance off? Is her nervous system working properly? Because if your nervous system isn't working properly, you'll start doing strange things and you don't even know why. Is her bone structure okay? Has she been to the physician? Has she gotten a full checkup from the doctor? Is she exercising? Is her diet proper? These are questions you have to ask. Some or a lot of this tension is simply hormones. I don't fully understand estrogen because I'm not a woman. I fully understand testosterone because I'm a man. So since women's bodies work differently and since estrogen works differently, you're going to get different outcomes. You're going to get different different results. I got tongue-tied. If this is the case, show compassion, use wisdom. For those of you believers out there, you can find wisdom in your scriptures and your apocrypha. I'm not going to them today. I'm just telling you that that's where you can find them. So number 5 was, remember, some or a lot of this tension is simply hormones. Guys, I would advise you, since y'all have a smartphone, since this is the age of information, since you're able to go online, do some research on hormone imbalance and what it can do to a woman and her physical body and her mental state and her emotions. She is affected by her hormones. So we'll move on to number 6. I'm watching the time. This is important, guys. Strap on your seatbelts for this one. Get ready. You will most likely be overtalked, overruled, disrespected, and falsely accused. You'll be all four. It'll happen. All 4 of those will happen to you. You're going to be overtalked. This happens. You're going to be overruled. You're going to get disrespected. Just get ready for it, guys. It's coming. And you're going to be falsely accused. She's going to tell you did something in some year and some month where you hadn't even met her yet, but somehow it's your fault. She went on vacation with her friends and something happened that she didn't like. Somehow it's your fault that she went on vacation with her friends and something happened that she didn't like. Even though you weren't there, somehow it's your fault. You're going to be falsely accused of things. This is the way it is, guys. This is common. I underline the word common. This is common. Because of American miseducation, most women believe falsely that they need to be equal to men. Go back and watch my American miseducation videos. Stay in your lane. False beliefs destroy us. They lie to my women. They lie to our sisters. Some believe the lie. You need to watch all these videos so you can get a better understanding of why women believe that they need to be equal to men. Let me give you an analogy. Those of you that are parents that have 2 or more children, you have 2 children or you have 4 or 5 or 7. Okay, when you leave the house, the way it's supposed to go is your oldest child is supposed to be in charge. If your oldest child is old enough to stay at home, which is usually 11, 12, 13, they're in charge of those younger children. So how are those younger children equal to that child that's in charge? It gets back to the line of authority. There's a line of authority. There's a hierarchy in every family. The oldest child is in charge. So now the oldest child is supposed to treat the other siblings with equal love and respect, but they're not equal. I've said this before. Husbands and wives are not equal. Boyfriend and girlfriend are not equal. Baby's daddy and baby's mama are not equal. Their roles are of equal importance, but they're not equal. I gotta show you again, because let me give you an example of something that's similar but not equal. This is a razor blade. It has a purpose. If you use a razor blade for the purpose that you're using it for, it's a good razor blade. This is a box cutter. If you use a box cutter in the proper way you're supposed to be using it, this is a good box cutter. Are these the same thing? Use your eyes, use your common sense. This is similar to this. This is similar to this. Sometimes this can do what this does, and sometimes this can do what this does. But are they equal? No. Women that are watching, you must understand this. You are not equal to men. Men are not equal to you. Y'all are of equal importance. Women, your role in life is just as important as men's is. Men, your role in life is just as important as women is. But men are not women. Women are not men. That's why I said this is why this is common, where women believe that they can become the man in the relationship and be overruling, over-talking, overbearing, disrespectful, and accusing falsely. Y'all turn into this type of woman when y'all are having these disagreements, because all throughout American history, this is what you've been taught to believe. This is not the historical way. This is not the biblical way. Having said that, men, and I'm saying emphasizing if you're acting the role of priest, protector, and provider the way you're supposed to be, equality with women is unnecessary, cumbersome, and unrighteous. I'll say this again. Men, if you're acting in the role of priest, protector, provider in the relationship, if you're taking on that role the way a man is supposed to take on that role, equality with women is unnecessary, cumbersome, and unrighteous. All it does is cause problems. Y'all see, I'm seeing a vehicle. It has a steering wheel. How many steering wheels does it have? One. Why? Because it's supposed to be steered and guided and operated by one person. Everybody else is passengers. Now, does that mean I don't love my passengers? If I'm driving, let's say I had a wife. I don't. But let's say I had a wife and we had children together. I don't. But let's just say we did. My wife is important to me. I'm driving to protect her. My children that are in the back seat, car seat, baby seat, whatever, they're important to me. I love them the same way. Everyone in the vehicle is important, but I'm driving, which means she does not need to reach over and grab the steering wheel and try to drive. No, you stay in the passenger seat and you be passenger until I need you to drive. If I need you to drive, I become the passenger, you become the driver. But until then, stay in the passenger seat. It's nothing disrespectful because the person driving has the greatest responsibility on them. I have to make sure I steer this wheel and operate this brake and this gas pedal to get y'all home safely. So really, who is the burden on? Is the burden on the driver or the passenger? I believe the burden is on the driver, and the passengers need to be passengers and pray that the driver gets the passengers home safely. Instead of trying to be a driver, be a passenger until we need you to be a driver. When we need you to be a driver, we'll become the passengers. Until then, stay in your seat. All right, like I said, if you're acting in the role of priest, protector, provider, equality with women is unnecessary, cumbersome, and unrighteous. I wrote down, explain the problems with role swapping. I'll keep this brief. It's quite simple. Men have male anatomy, women have female anatomy. If men have male anatomy, men need to act and behave and present themselves like men. If women have female anatomy, they need to act and present and conduct themselves like women. It's really that simple. Now, can women take on roles that men have? Yes. Can men take on roles that women have? Yes. I can tell you that for a fact because I raised my first two children. I had to be their mother and their father. So yes, role swapping is necessary sometimes, but it's not just the thing to do. Men, if you have a penis between your legs, be a man. Women, if you have a vagina between your legs, be a woman. It's that simple. Quit trying to be men, quit trying to be like men. Men, quit trying to be women, quit trying to be like women. I cover that and stay in your lane also. So that's the problem with role swapping, because what role swapping does is it gives children false information. I have no respect from any person that intentionally and willingly gives children false information. Children need to be children. Children need to be educated like children. Children need the opportunity to understand their own sexuality before they try to take on someone else's. There's no child in this world that can possibly determine before they even have the maturity to reproduce to decide what gender they want to be. If you're not even old enough to reproduce, you need to figure out the gender that you have first. Then when you're old enough to reproduce, then you still need to finish school. Now, when you finish school and you leave home and you can actually take care of a family, that's when you're old enough to decide what gender you're supposed to be. No time before then. If you're not able to move out of your parents' house, pay your own bills, get your own ride, get your own job, make your own family, you're not old enough to decide what gender you want to be. So that's the whole problem with the gender swapping. And keep in mind that that's a problem in the Western world. I don't think these other countries that y'all call uncivilized or you call third world, I don't think they have this problem because they're in tune with nature and they're in tune with their creator and they understand what gender is. They understand what maturity is. They understand what reproduction is. Apparently we don't. So all of that was under, get ready, you will most likely be overtaught, overruled, disrespected, and falsely accused. This is common. And I explained American miseducation, how that's messed it all up for women. This is the problem, women. If you want to know what's really wrong with you, especially some of you so-called black women, I'm not saying any names, you've been educated in America. You believe what you believe about yourself because America taught you that. What does the scripture say? What does history say? If you don't believe the scriptures, what does history say? So that was number 6. We're going to move on to number 7 because this video is beginning to run long. All said and done, much of the outcome of the conflict depends on both mates, both spouses' spiritual walk or lack thereof. I'm not even sitting there saying that every couple has to have a spiritual walk. They don't have to have a God to worship. They don't have to have a scripture to read. They don't have to have a culture or identity that tells them what to be or not to be. But when it's all said and done, it depends on both mates, both spouses, spiritual walk or lack thereof. For example, man, let's say you're an atheist. You're better off with a woman that's also an atheist. Men, if you're a Muslim, you're better off with a woman that's a Muslim. Men, if you're Jewish, and I said Jewish, you're better off with a woman that's Jewish, that acts and behaves like a Jew. Most religions and most spirituality or spiritual walks or whatever you want to call it, they hold marriage in high regard. Which is good. You should hold marriage in high regard because marriage was created and designed by someone that has a high regard. I'm talking about the creator of everything. But what are your standards? So, guys, let's just say you don't want to get married. You just want to fool around with this woman. Do you have standards? Guys, think about this. Do you have standards for the women you sleep with? Were you just going to go poke anybody? Are you just going to lay down with anybody? Or do you have standards? If you have standards, then you have to expect that woman to also have standards. If your standards is she has to be wealthy, fool around with wealthy women. Women, if your standard is he has to be muscular and more in shape than I am, that's the type of man you need to be talking to. What are your standards? And more importantly, here's the other questions about your standards or whatever standards you claim you have. Where are they found? Who's the author of these standards? Who authorized whatever these standards are? Who sat down and said, okay, this is how it's going to go if you want this type of man. This is how it's supposed to go if you want this type of woman. Somebody set those standards. Who set those standards? Where are they found? Do you practice them? So if your standard is, I've heard this a million times from almost every black woman that, I'm sorry, I should stop saying black. Every so-called black woman that I've been involved with. I want a godly man. Do you practice the standards that would attract a godly man? If the answer is yes, then you deserve a godly man. You know what a godly man is, supposedly, because you're saying you want a godly man. If you want a godly man, first of all, you need to look at him and see if his standards meet a godly man's standard. Then you need to look in that mirror and say, do your standards meet a woman that belongs with a godly man? If the answer is no, you don't want a godly man. Get you a man that meets your standards. Women, if your standards are here, you need a man whose standards are here. Men, if your standards are down here, you need a woman whose standards are down here. Men, if your standards are way up here, you need a woman whose standards are way up here. This is what I'm tired of. This is what's wrong with our community. Yeah, everybody says they want standards until they meet somebody that attracts them physically, and they just can't let them go. Women have this bad, and I'm not talking bad about women. Let's just tell the truth. Most of these mistakes you made was with some guy that was physically attractive. I would rather have a woman that's physically unattractive but has the standards I'm looking for than to have a woman that's physically attractive and never has the standards that I'm looking for. Why do you think I've been divorced so many times? I'm not talking bad about nobody, but my standards got to a point where they were here. So if my standards are here, I need you to do this. Come up here to my standards, because see, I'm here. So if your standards are down here, I'm not going to drop my standards to here. Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense. So all said and done, much of the outcome depends on both mates, spouses' spiritual walk or lack thereof. Most religions and spirituality hold marriage in high regard. The question is, what are your standards? Where are they found? Who authorized them? Do you practice them? Who holds you accountable for not practicing them? That's the other thing. This goes for men and women. Men, you don't get a break. This goes for you too. If you're not living up to your standards, who's holding you accountable? You're supposed to have an authority figure. Men, if you're not living up to your own standards, someone is supposed to hold you accountable. It's supposed to be the other men, the older men in the community, the older men of the nation are supposed to hold you accountable. Look in the mirror, guys. Look in the mirror. I raise my voice and I point fingers and use hand gestures because I'm passionate about my people. I love my fellow Hebrew Israelites, but our fellow Hebrew Israelites need to do better. I love the people of my nation. I love the Native Americans. I love the Latinos. We have to do better. So part of the navigating through conflict with women, which is what we were talking about in the first place, a lot of it is you looking in the mirror and changing or adjusting your standards and making your standards fit with what you're looking for. I think I've said enough about this. We went over seven different talking points. Hopefully you all will navigate through the disagreements and conflicts with your women. Hopefully those of you that are married will fight for your marriage. If you are married, fight for your marriage. If you're co-parenting, fight for your child. If you are dating and in courtship, fight for the concept of courtship. With that being said, if you like this video, please like, please subscribe, please share with others, please comment. The shares and subscriptions are gradually going up. I thank each and every one of you that take the time to care and listen and share with others and talk with others. I'm open to talk. You can reach me through email. I leave my Facebook page and my Instagram and my email at the end of the video. In the meantime, I hope you all are blessed. Please like, please comment, please share, please subscribe. And with that, I'll say shalom. Resistance Radio Music.